Back in 1947, I was on a Navy tug running patrols in the North Atlantic. Quiet job. Nothing special. Then the radios started throwing out strange tones and the sea went dead still. That was the first sign something out there wasn't right. We got a call for help from another ship, so we moved in fast. I didn't know it then, but the moment we reached them, we saw their whole damn ship going under right in front of us. If you want to know what did it, listen till the end. So before we continue, please make sure to like and subscribe to support the channel and comment down below where you're watching from. Thanks. I served on the USS Kaioa back in '47. Support ship. Old frame even then. Looked like the kind of boat the Navy forgot it had tied up somewhere. Thick steel, tired engines, diesel stink caught in every corner. But she pushed through the North Atlantic like a stubborn mule, and that was enough for the brass. I was a lieutenant then, though I wore it like a borrowed jacket. Demoted after a convoy mess the year before. One bad call in heavy fog. A merchant took a hit from a drifting mine. Brass said the responsibility sat with me. Maybe they were right. So they shoved me onto a quiet run, patrol routes north of the Azores. Long stretches of nothing but gray water and colder wind. Not the worst punishment. Still felt like someone had carved my name off the board. The USS Kaioa ran with small escorts on rotation. We were the odd ship, the one meant to grab sailors out of the water when things went wrong. A rescue tug wearing Navy colors. Crew of about 60. Good men, rough around the edges. No room for perfect types that far out. Briggs had the deck first. Old chief who smelled like cordite and cheap coffee. Smart. Didn't talk unless he had something worth saying. Then you had Waller, one of those butter bars fresh out of school who thought he'd seen the world because they made him stand in the rain during training. Didn't hate him. Just wished he'd shut up sometimes. Most of the crew did. Our daily rhythm was simple. Watch rotations, maintenance, drills. Always drills. Gunnery teams ran dry fires with the 40mm until their ears rang. Engineering cursed at the engines. Deckhands chipped rust that returned the next day. Nights were worse. Quiet enough to hear your own doubts rattling around. The radios were old, even for the time. Big boxes humming like they were alive. HF bands drifting in and out with the weather. The wire recorder sat next to the operator's chair, its spools turning with a lazy click whenever we logged messages. Static filled half the conversations. The rest were clipped orders or position checks. North Atlantic chatter never changed much. On that run, though, the operator started catching a strange pattern. 3 tones. Always the same spacing. Low, high, low. Quiet enough you'd miss it unless you listened close. He said it came in during normal chatter, like someone whistling behind a curtain. We figured it was another ship's bad tuning or some idiot playing with a homemade transmitter. Nothing worth sweating. But every time it came through, the hull gave this faint vibration, not shaking. More like something big passing under us. Deep and slow. Could have been a thermocline shift. Could have been a swell coming from far off. Could have been anything. But the ship felt it. The men felt it. The water had moods out there. We'd been a week into the patrol when the weirdness started repeating. The tones, then the vibration, then silence. Briggs said to ignore it. Command hadn't sent any alerts. We didn't have anything on sonar except the usual ocean noise. And the Navy didn't pay us to get jumpy. The crew tried to treat it like background noise. I caught them joking about ghosts under the ship, sailor humor. Laugh at what scares you so you can sleep. I'd heard the tones too, though. Something about the spacing felt deliberate, not like coded traffic. More like a creature calling out. I kept that thought to myself. Didn't need the men thinking their lieutenant was losing his mind. We held to our routine. Deck watches paced the rails. Gunners ran their sets. Waller nagged engineers about oil readings they already knew. Briggs smoked half a pack every night leaning near the aft winch. The ship worked because we didn't think too hard about the dark water around us. One morning, Hawkins, our sonar man, flagged me down. Young kid, sharp ears, always twitching like he drank too much coffee. "Sir," he said, "you might want to hear this." He played back a strip of wire from the night before. The 3 tones came through. Low, high, low, same length, same gaps. He said he'd picked it up 4 times in under an hour, not spread through the day like before. A cluster, almost regular. Could be the Guardian or the Hawthorne, I said. 2 ships running parallel patrols about 100 miles out. Weather conditions bounced signals around. He nodded but looked unsure. Maybe, he said, but the signature doesn't match anything I've logged for either. I didn't have an explanation. Just told him to keep tracking it and log all times. Didn't want to send up a report without something real to stand on. Navy Command hated ghost problems. They always tied them back to operator error. By midday, half the ship knew something was off. Sailors noticed changes before officers do. The mess hall felt tight, voices low, forks scraping louder than usual. Even the cook seemed jumpier. I tried focusing on the routines. Ran drills, checked logs. Nothing helped shake the itch under my skin. The swell had gotten heavier, slow rolling like the water carried weight instead of wind. The sky stayed clear though, no storm in sight. We picked up position checks from the Guardian and Hawthorne like usual. Clean signals. No trouble. But between transmissions, the 3 tones kept sliding in, like a whisper in a quiet room. That evening I joined the deck watch. Air cold enough to sting your face. The ocean stretched out calm and wide. The ship's running lights reflected sharp on the water, but the hull vibrated again. A long, slow groan underfoot. Sounded like something brushing us from below. The watchman looked at me. "You feel that too, sir?" "Yeah." He nodded like he'd expected me to deny it. "Feels like big mass moving under," he said. "But sonar ain't calling anything. Probably just a swell shift." He didn't believe me. I didn't believe me either. Before I ended the watch, the radio operator sent word up that the Guardian had logged nothing unusual. Hawthorne the same. They hadn't heard the tones. They hadn't felt the hull pressure. And that only made the USS Kaioa feel more alone. Later that night, Briggs found me near the chart table. "Something's bothering the men," he said. "Yeah. You want to say what exactly?" I shook my head. "Not yet." He lit another cigarette. "Good," he said. "Don't feed them ghosts until you know what you're pointing at." We stood in silence a long moment. The ship groaned again, fainter this time, but enough. Briggs looked toward the bulkhead, listening. "That ain't a swell," he said quietly. I didn't argue. I walked down to the radio room before turning in. The operator was logging the midnight watch. He pointed at the speaker as if it were misbehaving on purpose. The tones came through again. Low, high, low, then nothing but static. I wrote it down in the log myself. My handwriting looked like I'd been on a rocking deck even though the ship barely moved. That was the first day I felt something was waiting out there, watching us, studying us. Something the Navy wasn't ready for, and we weren't ready for it either. The next day came in too quiet, the kind of quiet that makes sailors keep their jackets zipped and their mouths shut. North Atlantic usually had at least some wind cutting across the deck, but that morning the air felt dead, flat. No chop on the water, no gulls, just the slow push of the USS Kiowa's engines and the creak of old steel. I took the morning watch. Sky looked washed out, pale blue, empty. The ocean looked worse, smooth like spilled oil. I kept checking the horizon for signs of weather even though the barometer held steady. Briggs joined me after a while, hands jammed in his pockets. "Feels wrong," he said. "Yeah, no wind in these latitudes means something." "Or nothing," I said. He gave me a look like he knew I didn't believe it either. Down below, Hawkins said sonar didn't show anything except the usual ocean rumble, but he said the background noise sounded thin, like something big soaked up the vibrations instead of reflecting them back. Hard thing to explain, but sonar techs notice shifts the rest of us miss. Around midday, the radio started acting up, short bursts of screeching tearing through the HF bands. Operator swore it wasn't tuning drift. He adjusted everything twice. Still came in like knives scraping metal. No pattern, no source, just sharp noise that made everyone's shoulders tighten. We caught a position ping from the Hawthorne soon after, solid signal. Then another message came behind it. Different tone, quieter, marked as encrypted. We routed it to the decode unit in the radio room. Took a few minutes for the system to spit out something readable. The message didn't make much sense, just said they were shifting course 5 degrees starboard because of possible contact. Nothing else. No details. No confirmation. It was enemy. No weather report. No situational notes. Just that phrase, possible contact. Too vague for Navy standards. Waller thought the Hawthorne's radio crew screwed something up. Briggs muttered that he didn't like half-finished messages. I agreed with Briggs. We tried reaching them to clarify. Nothing. Tried again later. Still nothing but HF static rolling in like sand through a cracked window. We logged the message anyway. Command could sort the mess out when they got the traffic. By late afternoon, the comm started getting under everyone's skin. You can't work on a ship for long without tying your nerves to the rhythm of waves. When the ocean stops moving, the whole crew feels it in their bones. Like waiting for bad news, I checked on the engine room. Crew there was quiet, tools clinking louder than normal. Sweat dripping even though the temperature stayed mild. Men looked around a lot. Not scared yet, but close. Engine steady, the chief said. But something's off in the water. Vibration feels dampened. I asked what he meant. Can't explain it, he said. Feels like the ocean swallowed the sound. Up on deck again, I watched the water slide past. For a second I thought I saw something, just a patch where the surface shifted wrong, like a ripple without a cause. Then it was gone. Night fell slow. Sunset faded without color, leaving the sea black and flat as tar. The USS Kaioa's running lights glowed on the surface like they floated on glass. The quiet pressed against your ears. Night watchmen looked uneasy. One of them, Carter, pointed over the rail. "Sir, water's breathing weird." I didn't like how he said it, but I leaned over anyway. Hard to explain what I saw. Not waves, not currents. Not currents. Just faint shifting lines, long curves moving under the surface in slow, deliberate arcs. Too smooth for natural swell. Too regular for wind. "You see that?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "What is it?" "No idea." We kept watching. Sometimes the patterns vanished. Sometimes they returned. Just thin movements like something large drifted barely below reach of light. Later, radio screech hit again. Louder this time. The operator jerked his hands off the controls like he'd touched a hot pipe. "Where the hell is that coming from?" he muttered. The sound filled the room for almost a minute before fading back into the normal crackle. I checked the dials myself. Nothing wrong. It was something external bouncing in from who knew where. The North Atlantic ate radio waves on calm nights, but I'd never heard anything like that. Raw, sharp, almost like some animal hiss cutting through a transmitter. We logged the time. Cross-checked with Hawkins. He hadn't heard anything odd on sonar except a drop in ambient noise. Like we'd entered some dead zone. The rest of the crew felt it too. Men kept glancing at the water. Voices turned low, movements stiff. Even the ship seemed reluctant to push forward, as if she felt something ahead she didn't want to meet. Just after midnight, a coded ping from the Guardian came through. Clear and routine. Their last known good signal of the night. No mention of trouble, no mention of contacts, nothing. But right after the operator confirmed receipt, the three-tone pattern slipped through again. Low, high, low, almost soft, almost curious. I stepped into the radio room as soon as I heard it. "That the same spacing?" I asked. "Exactly the same," the operator said. "Timings match the last recordings. Any idea on origin? None. Doesn't sound like any ship." The hull vibrated again. Slight but noticeable. Carter poked his head in, wide-eyed. "Sir, deck feels wrong again. Like something nudged us." Briggs joined a minute later. He listened to the recording, jaw clenched. "That's no interference," he said quietly. "Someone or something is doing that on purpose. Could be equipment drift," Waller said from the doorway, trying to sound confident. Briggs didn't even turn. "No equipment drifts in neat patterns like that," he said. The ship groaned again, a long, low sound traveling up the bulkheads. I stepped out onto the deck. The sea was still dead calm. Running lights reflected too perfectly. Even the stars felt far away, like the sky didn't want to look at what we were sailing into. The faint lines under the surface moved again, slow arcs, purposeful. I felt something then. Not fear exactly, more like recognition. Same feeling I'd had the night before a convoy got hit back in 45. The sense that something was coming that we weren't ready to name. The water beneath the USS Kaioa shifted once more, subtle but controlled, like something rising a little, then sinking again. I backed away from the rail. Whatever was down there was moving. Watching, studying, and the night around us didn't feel empty anymore. The Guardian's last normal transmission came in at dawn. Routine stuff. Position check. Weather clear. Engines steady. Nothing unusual in their voice. No tension. No hint something was wrong. Just another ship rolling through another calm morning in the North Atlantic. We logged it, acknowledged, moved on. If any man had known it would be the last clean message from them, maybe someone would have spoken up. But that's how the sea gets you. It lets everything feel normal right up until the moment it decides to kill you. Around late morning, the radio started slipping out of range. Not all at once. Just little drops. Guardian's signal weakening too fast for the distance. HF sometimes thins out over flat water, but this wasn't the same. It felt choked, like something thick sat between us and them. Try again, I told the operator. He did. Static crawled through every response. Guardian's next call came through warped, low rumble, words broken into pieces, then silence. We tried to raise them for almost an hour. Nothing. Hawthorne still checked in fine, though their tone sounded off. Their radio man kept clearing his throat like he didn't know how to say what he wanted to. Hawthorne logged a shift in the water, similar to what we'd been feeling, but they kept it vague, said they were investigating. No panic, no urgency. Just Navy talk meant to settle nerves that didn't need settling if they weren't already rattled. Could be a sub out there, Waller said. Could be someone jamming. Briggs shot him a look. No sub makes the ocean go quiet, he muttered. I agreed. Back in '43, German boats stalked convoys like sharks. I remembered the way water reacted when something big moved deep. It had a rhythm. This didn't. Around midday, command cut in with an update. Calm voice. No emotion. They ordered all ships in the patrol to tighten formation. Standard protocol if comms dropped for more than a certain window. You heard up so no one drifts into trouble alone. USS Kaioa was named primary rescue ship in the formation. No surprise. That was our job. It meant if Guardian or Hawthorne went silent for real, we were the ones sent in first. The crew knew what that meant too. Rescue ships always went where the smoke trails pointed, and the ocean didn't give up survivors unless it felt generous. The radio room caught a last distorted burst from the Guardian around 1400 hours. I stood there for it. The sound rattled the speaker. A single voice, fractured, half buried under static. Shifted, something coming up, hold. Then a metallic screech ripped across the frequency. Then nothing. The operator froze, hand still on the dial. What the hell was that? He asked. No idea, I said. We replayed the recorded strip twice. Same broken pieces. Same sound near the end. Like metal being twisted somewhere far from the microphone. Not gunfire. Not storm noise. Something else. I sent the recording up the chain. No reply came back. Outside, the swell changed again. Long rolls. Slow. Measured. The ship didn't bob. It lifted and lowered like we'd hit some massive, distant pulse. The men noticed. You could see it in their eyes when they walked the deck. Feels like someone breathing under us, Carter whispered when he passed me. I didn't answer. By late afternoon, the Guardian had dropped fully out of contact. Hawthorne tried reaching them too. Same result. At 1900 hours, Fleet Command flagged the Guardian as unresponsive and told all ships to maintain readiness. The outline of the day tightened around the crew like a noose. No one joked. No cards in the mess. No idle talk. Just quiet steps and the soft groan of the hull. Briggs and I stood near the starboard rail as the sun bled out behind the clouds. Something happened to them, he said. Yeah. You think it's a boat? No. He nodded once. He'd expected that answer. As night fell, the three-tone pattern slipped through again. Clearer this time. Low, high, low. Almost like whoever or whatever sent it had moved closer. Hawkins called me to Sonar 10 minutes after that. Sir, you need to hear this. The ocean floor noise was wrong. Hollow. Like a massive shape moved below us. Slow enough not to trip the usual indicators, but big enough to warp the natural soundscape. He couldn't pin it. Couldn't classify it. He just kept saying the same thing. It's not a sub. Not a whale. Not anything I know. I didn't see fear in his eyes. I saw confusion. That was worse. Before midnight, Command sent the order, USS Kaioa, to move toward Guardian's last known position for possible recovery. My stomach turned when I read it. The crew prepared without a word. Ropes checked. rescue gear laid out, engines pushed to steady flank speed. Men stood by the rails with that tight, silent focus, used only when expecting the worst. No one said it out loud, but we all felt the same thing. Whatever had taken the Guardian waited for us next. We pushed through the night toward the Guardian's last mark, engines humming steady. Bow cutting a path through water that looked too smooth for the North Atlantic. Crews stood at stations with that hollow-eyed stare men get when they know something bad already happened, and all that's left is to find the pieces. Around 0300 hours, the radios jumped alive with a burst of chatter that didn't sound like routine traffic. Operator waved me over. "It's the Anchorage," he said. "They're in trouble." Anchorage ran farther north on a parallel patrol line. Big ship. More teeth than we had. If something rattled them, it wasn't a small thing. The operator replayed the first call. Authentic Navy phrasing. Tight and clipped. "Anchorage to patrol group, taking damage, possible hull breach starboard aft, request immediate." The message cut out, replaced by noise that wasn't static, more like steel failing somewhere deep inside the ship. High, sharp snaps. Then screaming. Human. Raw. No confusion about that. Another voice tried to override. Flooding, engineering, bulkhead, metal tore again. A long, ripping groan that didn't sound like explosion or collision, more like pressure. Something squeezing the ship until it couldn't hold anymore. Then silence. The operator stared at the speaker. I could see the sweat building on his forehead. Briggs appeared behind me. Nobody had called him. He'd heard the recording from halfway down the corridor. "Full speed," he said. "Right damn now." We hit full ahead. Engines shuddered, not built for sprinting long. But they carried us. Men scrambled to ready rescue lines, stretchers, blankets, ropes. They worked fast. No one wasted breath talking. The wire recorder kept running. The operator flagged a segment for me. "Sir, before Anchorage sent their last call, this came through." He played it. 3 tones. Low, high, low. Same pattern, same spacing. This time it was clearer. Close. Too clean to be accident. It was right before they screamed, the operator whispered. The hull pulsed again under us. Slow vibration running up the deck plates. Felt like something off our port side moved just out of view and dipped back under. "Where's Hawthorne?" I asked. "They haven't checked in since 2200, the operator said. We reached Anchorage's projected impact site near dawn. The sea didn't look right. Smooth again, glassy, no whitecaps, no chop. Just a flat field stretching in all directions. Ships don't die on flat water. But this one did. "Why the hell is it so calm?" Carter asked behind me. "Doesn't matter," Briggs said. "Eyes open. Searchlights ready." We slowed to a crawl. Engines lowered to a rumbling throb. The crew stood silent at the rails, ropes in hand. "Searchlights on," Briggs ordered. They snapped on with a blinding wash of white across the black water. The beam cut across something ahead. A shape. Metal. Torn open. Anchorage drifted half submerged. Bow tilted, stern ripped wide. The damage didn't look like explosion. No burn. No fragmentation. Just steel bent inward like something wrapped around it and pulled. Pieces of plating hung in curled strips. You don't get that from a mine. You get that when raw force squeezes metal until it folds like paper. Briggs muttered, "What in God's name did that?" Men grabbed binoculars. Hawkins leaned over the rail, eyes wide. In the light, something moved. At first I thought it was debris, a line in the water rising. Then part of it shifted on its own, a long shape. Thick, too smooth for cable, too controlled for current, tentacle. It lifted slow, dripping seawater and something darker. It wrapped around Anchorage's midsection and tightened. Steel groaned loud enough to echo off our hull. "Jesus," someone whispered. More shapes slid up from beneath, not fast, not thrashing, calm, confident. Like something that had done this before. Men on Anchorage, what few were still alive, scrambled across the deck, silhouettes in our lights. One slipped. Another waved arms without sound. "Hold fire," Briggs barked. Too many survivors near the target, gunners froze. They wanted to shoot. They also didn't want to kill their own. The thing reacted to our lights. It flinched, not fear, just irritation. One massive tentacle lifted toward the beam, almost tasting it. I remembered something from training about real squid and deep-sea creatures avoiding bright light. "Sir," Hawkins whispered, "it doesn't like the lights." "Keep them on it," Briggs said. Anchorage buckled again. Steel popped. The creature pulled downward with slow, crushing steadiness. One sailor jumped from the doomed ship, hit the water hard. 2 more followed. Our men threw lines. It didn't matter yet. The creature wasn't finished. The lights caught a glimpse of one eye, not round, not glowing, nothing supernatural. Just a huge dark disc with a narrow ring around it. Cold. A predator's eye, studying us. The ship snapped in half. The sound shook my ribs. Anchorage dropped in 2 pieces. The forward half rolled, swallowed fast. The aft section twisted as the creature dragged it under, tentacles coiling around it like ropes. Within minutes, it was gone, just a slick on the surface, and our lights shining on empty black water. The creature slipped away with the broken hull, sinking on purpose, pulling its kill down into darkness like it preferred to finish things where no one could see. We hauled in the swimmers we could reach. Some were alive, some weren't. One man clung to a life ring, shaking so hard he couldn't speak at first. When he finally forced the words out, his teeth chattered around them. "It hunts the light," he whispered. "Turn them off. For God's sake, turn them off." We kept the searchlights on even though the survivor begged us not to. Briggs stood firm on that. Said turning them off would blind us and get more men killed. He wasn't wrong. But every man on deck felt the weight of those lights like they were bait hanging over dark water. We moved slow into the debris field. Bits of Anchorage drifted everywhere. Broken planks, bent railings, oily patches sliding across the calm surface. No fire, no smoke. Just wreckage that looked chewed instead of blown apart. I leaned over the side with a line in my hands. The rescued man huddled under a blanket near the hatch, eyes fixed on every ripple. "It took the others," he whispered. "It wasn't done." Carter crouched next to him. "What was it?" he asked. The man shook his head. "Big. Too big. Came from below. Wrapped the stern first. Crushed it. Didn't make a sound." He kept staring at the water like it might rise up right there and take him too. The USS Kaioa's engines kept a low idle as we swept the area. Searchlights scanned across the waves in wide arcs. Every time they crossed a twisted plate or floating board, men tensed. We were waiting for the thing to come back. Everyone knew it. 10 minutes in, Hawkins jogged from Sonar, pale as chalk. "Sir," he said to me, "there's movement under us." "How deep?" He swallowed. "Not deep." The survivor heard that and started shaking. "Turn off the lights," he whispered. "It watches the lights." The deck vibrated then, not sharp, not sudden. Just a long, slow push upward like something huge brushed the hull again. "Engine room," Briggs barked into the voice tube. "Keep the screws ready for flank." The answering shout was tense, clipped, ready. We edged closer to where Anchorage went down. The surface still lay smooth. Too smooth. No waves broke against the wreckage. It felt like the creature had flattened the sea itself. "Searchlight 3, hold it right there," Briggs ordered. The beam froze on a large shadow drifting just below the surface. At first it looked like debris. A long shape, curved. But then it changed direction on purpose. "Jesus," Carter whispered. The shadow moved under the beam, and something rose toward the surface. Slow, patient, not rushing, not angry, just coming to look. One thick tentacle broke the water, sliding upward like a living rope. Water rolled off it in sheets. It reached high, almost level with the deck, dripping and flexing as if tasting the air. 2 more followed. Then another. The creature wasn't attacking yet. It was studying us, staring through the light. "Back off," Briggs yelled. "Reverse engines. Now." The USS Kaioa lurched as the screws bit water, but the lights had already drawn it in. The tentacles curled toward the hull, cautious, deliberate. The texture of them was rough, not smooth like I'd imagined. Suckers the size of plates lined the underside, each pulsing faintly as they gripped nothing but air. One tentacle tapped our hull. Just lightly. Testing. The steel answered with a low, groaning complaint. "Get ready on the guns," Briggs barked. "Don't fire unless I say." Gunner swung the 40mm into position. Ready. Aimed. Safety off. Fingers tight on triggers. But we couldn't shoot. Survivors still floated in the water around us, some too weak to reach the lines. Any burst would shred them. Another tentacle reached for the searchlight tower. The metal bent under the touch. Not crushed, not yet. Just bent like soft tubing. "It's gonna rip that off," Carter said. "Leave it," Briggs muttered. "Better that than the hull." The creature's eyes surfaced then, one side of its massive head rolling upward just enough to break the water. The eye was dark, ringed, reflective. Not glowing, not monstrous in the fairy tale way. Just real, cold, intelligent, and far, far too large for any living thing we were supposed to know about. Its gaze tracked the searchlights like a hunter watching fire. "Sir," Hawkins whispered from behind me. "It's avoiding the beams." He was right. Whenever a beam touched its skin, it shifted away. Not in pain, more like annoyance. Like deep creatures pushed out of their preferred dark. "Keep the lights on it," Briggs growled. "Pin it where we can see it." The creature flinched again. Another tentacle moved across Anchorage's drifting debris, pulling a crushed hunk of hull below like it still wanted to feed. Then something changed. A deep rumble rolled under us. The hull vibrated in a way that wasn't from engines or swell. A pulse of motion from below. "It's moving," Hawkins shouted. "Downward angle." The tentacles tightened suddenly around the remnants of Anchorage. One huge coil wrapped the main deck section still floating, and then the thing dove. Not fast, but with strength that shook the water around us. Anchorage's remains vanished, pulled under like they weighed nothing. The sea swallowed everything. The calm surface rolled once, twice, then smoothed again. The creature was gone, just like that. Men exhaled at the same time, a collective shudder. "We need to get the rest of the survivors," Briggs ordered. "Now, move." We pulled the remaining sailors aboard fast as we could. Some screamed. Some couldn't speak. One man we lifted out of the water had skin torn where suction marks wrapped his arm. Large ones. Fresh. He whispered one thing over and over. It wasn't hungry. It was hunting. And the lights, he didn't finish. Passed out cold. We backed away from the site with steady engines. No one spoke. No one dared. The survivor count was low. Too low. Anchorage had been torn apart in minutes. And the thing that did it wasn't driven off by guns, or depth, or fear. Only light made it hesitate. And even that wasn't enough to stop it. Briggs leaned against the rail, staring at the black water. "We didn't scare it," he said quietly. "It just finished its kill." I didn't answer, because I knew he was right. The creature had left on its own terms, and we were still in its hunting grounds. We put distance between us and the wreck site, but the sea stayed too calm. Like the creature had pressed its weight down somewhere far below, and the water hadn't recovered yet. Most of the rescued sailors were shaken beyond words. Two needed morphine. One kept staring at the deck like he expected a tentacle to push through the steel. The man who first warned us about the light woke briefly. His voice rasped like he'd swallowed half the ocean. "It hunts the light," he whispered again. "Turn them off. It sees everything." He passed out before anyone could ask more. Briggs and I stepped aside, away from the others. "We cut the lights, we're blind," Briggs said. "If he's right, we're bait," I said. He gave a bitter grunt. "Either way, we're screwed." He rubbed his jaw. "Command's gonna want bodies counted, if there are any left." We both knew what Command would say. Protocol demanded proof. Survivors. Wreckage samples. Something they could put on a report without sounding insane. They'd never buy a story about a creature big enough to tear a Navy ship apart. Not without showing them something. Word came from Sonar. Hawkins had traced steady debris drift pointing toward a deeper trench, likely where the creature dragged Anchorage's remains. Briggs stared at the chart. "We need confirmation," he said. "A dive team checks the wreck, gets proof. Anything. Send a diver down there, and they're dead," I said. "Mark 5 suits. Heavy. Tough. They'll have surface air. If they stay near the hull and don't shine any damn lights around, they might get in and out before that thing comes back." I didn't like it, but he wasn't wrong. Navy would bury every word we said unless we brought something solid back. And Anchorage's men deserved someone to go see what happened to them. We picked 2 divers, Randall and Finch, both steady hands. No panic in their bones. They suited up in the cramped compartment below deck. Mark 5 gear looked like walking armor. Brass and steel helmet, thick canvas suit, weighted boots, air hose attached to the pump, lifeline rope coiled neat. Finch cracked a nervous grin to the helmet slit. "At least it ain't freezing," he said. "It will be," I told him. "That deep, it always is." They lowered the helmets over their heads and locked them in place. The clunk of the seal felt final. The deck crew moved quiet as ghosts. No chatter, no jokes, just ropes, pulleys, and focused hands. All eyes kept darting to the black water. The dive tender oversaw the comms. Basic stuff, tinny voice through a wire. Old tech but reliable. If the hoses stayed intact, stay close to each other, I told them. Stay close to the wreck. Stay dark except for the low beam on the helmets. They nodded inside the brass domes. Lowering them into the water felt wrong. Like feeding someone to something you couldn't see. But they dropped slow, boots sinking below the surface. Air hoses trailing behind. Once they disappeared, we listened. The comms crackled. Randall's voice came through faint. Descent steady. Visibility bad, feels like fog down here. Finch added, "Water's too warm for this depth." Warm water in the North Atlantic wasn't right. Not down there. "Keep moving," Briggs said into the mic. "Follow the debris." Minutes passed. Long ones. Then Randall spoke again. "Got pieces of hull. Looks twisted inward." "Not an explosion," Finch said, seeing suction marks on plates. "Big ones." My stomach tightened. "How big?" I asked. Finch didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice shook. "Bigger than my helmet." Randall muttered, "Holy hell." The men near the rail looked at each other. Nobody breathed. The divers kept going. Their footsteps thudded through the comm line. Weighted boots hitting metal. "Entering what's left of the midsection," Randall said. "Low visibility. Debris drifting. Some bodies." He didn't describe them. Didn't need to. Finch whispered, "Whatever hit them, it crushed whole bulkheads." Not ripped, just squeezed until they failed. A long pause followed. Then Randall said, "I'm seeing fresh marks, not old." "Edges clean," Finch added. "Suction, big as dinner plates." Rows of them. They both went quiet for a few seconds. I knew that silence. Men staring at something they didn't understand. Randall finally spoke. "Sir, something moved the debris, not current. Something dragged it." Briggs looked at me. I didn't like the look he had. He didn't like mine either. "Wrap it up," he said into the mic. "Get what you can and get back up." Randall started to answer, but Finch cut him off. "Hold up. I think I see someone. Looks like a body wedged under a beam. Might be alive." Briggs cursed under his breath. "Get them. Fast." Finch grunted through the comm, trying to pull him out. "Randall, give me a hand." The line went tense with effort. Then Randall froze. "Finch," he whispered. "Don't move." "What is it?" Briggs asked. Randall's breath hitched. "I saw something. Movement outside the wreck. Big. Slow." Finch muttered a string of curses. "Pulled him out," Briggs barked. "Now." Metal scraped through the comm. A groan of shifting hull. Finch grunted. "Got him." Pulling him free. Then Randall whispered again. "It's close. I can feel it." Something hit the wreck then. Not a slam, just a heavy push. Enough to make the divers grunt as debris shifted. "Ascend," Briggs yelled. "Drop anything you have to." "Get up here," Finch yelled back. "We're moving." The divers' breathing turned sharp, fast. Boots thudded against metal as they pushed toward the ascent line. Something scraped the wreck again. "Closer," Randall whispered. "It's touching the hull." Another deep vibration ran through the water and up through the comm line. Even on deck, we felt it in our teeth. "Ascend now," I shouted. Finch yelled, dropping the damn light canister. A clunk echoed through the line as something metal hit the deck below. The only bright thing they had. Then came a deep shifting groan from the wreck. Metal bending. Hull plates snapping. Randall's voice spiked. The wreck's giving way. Then a roar of bubbles as something collapsed underwater. The divers shouted. The line whined as it went taut. "Pull them," Briggs roared. "Get them up." Deck crew heaved on the ropes. Pumps blasted air down the hoses. Men strained until veins stood out on their necks. Silence underwater except ragged breathing. Then Randall's voice cracked through. It's beneath us. Go, 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 go. The water around the USS Kaioa surged once, a massive swell rising from nowhere. The creature breached. Not fully, just a hint of its shape, a long curved mass tearing upward before sliding away. Dark water rained down on the deck. The guns opened fire. Not ordered, just panic. Tracers whipped through the dark, but they hit nothing. Couldn't see enough. Too big, too fast, too dark. Divers broke the surface, sputtering, shouting. We hauled them on board. One collapsed. One vomited seawater through his helmet. The survivor they dragged out lay limp, barely breathing. We all stood heaving, dripping, shaking. The creature was gone again. Not scared, not wounded, just choosing to leave. Randall's helmet came off with a loud clank. He was pale as moonlight. Finch looked worse, shaking so hard 2 men had to hold him steady just so they could unbolt his gear. The rescued survivor they'd pulled from the wreck lay on a stretcher, breathing shallow. His skin looked grayed out, lips blue. He was alive, but barely. "Get them below," Briggs ordered. His voice was steady, but his eyes weren't. He kept glancing at the black water like he expected it to rise. The deck was soaked. Water trickled off the rails. Everything smelled like iron and panic. Crew whispered in tight little pockets even though they tried to look calm. Everyone knew that thing hadn't gone far. Not after that breach. Not after showing itself that close. The sea around us looked wrong again. Ripples moved in slow rings, spreading outward from some point beneath the surface. Not waves, not currents. Just movement like something big shifted down deep. Randall tried to speak once he got his breath. "It was, right there," he said. "In the wreck. Not sleeping, just waiting." Finch nodded, helmet still half off his head. "I felt it before I saw it. Like a pressure. Like the water got thicker." "What did it do?" I asked. "It didn't do anything," Finch whispered. "It didn't have to. It just watched us." That stuck with everyone. Before Briggs could respond, Sonar crackled through the comm tube. "Bridge, Sonar, you need to hear this. Movement below us. Slow. Huge." Hawkins didn't raise his voice, but there was panic behind the words. Briggs turned to me. "Get to the bridge. I'll handle the divers." I jogged up the ladder and into the wheelhouse. The helmsman gripped the wheel like a lifeline. Hawkins hovered over the sonar set, headphones pressed hard against one ear. "Talk to me," I said. "Something circling," he whispered. "Deep, but not deep enough. You can see it bounce off the hull." "It's big, sir. Bigger than before." The ship vibrated again. One long, slow pass under the keel. Like the creature dragged itself just beneath us, brushing the bottom of the hull with purpose. I keyed the voice tube. "Engine room. Be ready for flank." The chief answered instantly. "Already on it, sir." Briggs arrived on the bridge, soaked and breathing hard. "It's down there," he said. "We need to move. We might have a trapped survivor," I said. Finch said they found him wedged near the stern section. Briggs shook his head. "If that thing's circling, we can't stay here." Before we could argue, Randall stumbled into the bridge, still dripping. "Sir," he said. "The survivor," he woke up. "Said there were more men deeper in the wreck. We didn't reach them." Briggs swore under his breath. "We can't send divers back down, not now." "No," Randall said, "but you didn't see him. He's hanging on by seconds. If there's someone else down there, they won't last long." We stood in silence for a moment. Then Hawkins stiffened. "Contact rising," he whispered. "Fast." The ship shuddered. A deep force surged up from below, pushing water upward. The deck tilted as a swell lifted us several feet. "Go," Briggs barked. Full ahead. The helmsman slammed the throttle forward. The ship roared, engines kicking hard. The bow carved away from the epicenter of the swell, and then the creature breached. Not fully, not even close, but enough. A curved mass of flesh erupted from the water off our port side, long, thick, and in motion. A tentacle the size of a mast slapped down into the sea, throwing a wall of water across the deck. Men hit the rail. One got knocked flat. The ship rocked so hard the wheel spun in the helmsman's hands. We didn't see its whole body, just the suggestion of it, dark, massive, sliding under again. Something moving with intent. Gunners fired. Instinct, fear. tracers arced into the dark, splashing uselessly far from where the creature sank. "Cease fire," Briggs shouted. "You're wasting ammo." The crew looked panicked. Men grabbed ropes, weapons, anything they could hold. Then the voice too from deck crackled. "Diver survivor, he's awake again. Says the wreck's shifting. Says someone's trapped in an air pocket. Says he heard tapping. That hit hard." Briggs turned to me. "We can't leave them if they're alive." "Then how the hell do we get them out?" I asked. He stared at me with an expression I'd only seen in battle once before. The face of a man about to make a decision he hated. "We drop a retrieval line only," he said. "No second dive, but we get close enough to try. If the wreck shifts, maybe it brings them near the surface. Maybe." It was a desperate chance, but we took it. We eased the USS Kaioa back toward the wreck field. Engines low, lights kept wide, not focused. Nobody wanted to draw that thing back toward us. The water ahead shimmered with drifting debris. Twisted steel, oil. The wreck groaned somewhere deep below, a faint scraping carried through sonar. Then tapping. Not clear, not steady, but there. Men froze. Randall leaned over the rail, eyes wide. "Right side," he shouted. "Starboard, I hear it over there," Briggs pointed. "Drop the line." We tossed the retrieval rig over the side. Thick rope, hook, weighted end. It sank. For a few seconds, all we heard was the ocean. Then the tapping got louder, faster. "It's him," Randall said. "Someone's moving." But then the tapping stopped. The wreck moaned, long, low. A deep metallic shift. Sonar whined. "Something's rising again," Hawkins whispered. Bigger this time. The deck tilted. A swell rolled under us harder than before. "Pull the line," Briggs ordered. Crew hauled it up as fast as they dared. The rope jerked once, twice, then went slack. No weight at the end. The wreck below groaned again, shifting under pressure. Randall shouted into the dark, "Hold on." "We're trying." The water surged upward. A massive shape breached again, closer this time. A long, curved tentacle slapped the surface before sliding back down. Then another. The creature wasn't attacking us directly. It was reacting to movement, to sound, to disturbance. The USS Kaioa rolled hard to port. Men grabbed rails to stay upright. Full ahead, Briggs barked, engines roared. The ship lunged forward. The water behind us erupted as the creature dove again, the force of its descent creating a whirl that spun debris like leaves. We pulled away, fast. Gunners fired again, uselessly, blindly. The shells vanished into dark. Hawkins called out, "Contact descending, moving away." Gradually, the sea settled. The vibration faded. The tapping never returned. We circled once more at a safer distance, but the wreck was shifting again. Too unstable, too deep. The creature was gone for now, but the wreck wasn't safe. Anyone trapped below had no chance left. Briggs lowered his head, jaw tight. "Pull back," he said. "That's all we can do." No one argued. No one spoke. We backed away from the site, engines humming low. Men leaned on the rails, soaking wet, shaking, eyes locked on the black water. The creature didn't follow. It had gotten what it wanted, and it had let us go. We stayed on station as long as Briggs dared, engines low, lights pointed outward in wide arcs. The sea finally started moving again, small ripples breaking the glassy surface. Men watched every shift like it might be the creature coming back up, but nothing rose. No shadows, no tentacles, no vibration under the hull. Hours passed before the horizon showed lights, Navy ships pushing hard to reach us. Bigger silhouettes, faster ones, real muscle. They arrived with radios blaring and signal lamps flashing short, sharp commands. We answered slow, exhausted, shaken. Half the crew still soaked from waves the creature had thrown over the deck. The first ship to reach us, an boarding team. Officers in clean uniforms stepped aboard like they expected to see a busted winch, a fire, something they could fix with tools and paperwork. They froze when they saw the survivors from Anchorage. The suction marks, the torn suits, the looks on our faces. We gave our reports. Briggs, me, Randall, Finch, the deckhands who saw the breach. Nobody told stories. Nobody added flair. Just facts. Cold ones. The officers wrote every word down without making eye contact. Then command's representative arrived. Intelligence type. Coat too long, hat too neat for a rescue op. He walked through our ship with his hands behind his back, listening more than talking. They took the wire recordings first. All of them, even the old strips. Every tone, every screech, every last bit of HF chatter from the past 2 days. They boxed them quick, like they were dangerous. Then they took sonar logs, charts, dive notes, anything that hinted at something bigger than a blown hull. One junior officer tried telling Briggs the Anchorage likely hit a mine. Briggs stared at him until the man looked at his boots. Another said it could have been trapped gas pockets and old wreckage. Hawkins laughed once, sharp and humorless. When they finally sat me down, the intelligence man closed the cabin door and pulled out a notebook. "Lieutenant Mercer," he said, "your history shows a tendency to see threats others don't." I stared at the wall. "You think I imagined it?" "I think patrols get stressful," he said, voice flat. "Men get tired. Radios behave strangely at night. Ships suffer failures. The sea is unpredictable." "You weren't there," I said. He paused his writing, looked at me then, really looked. "No," he said, "I wasn't." He closed the notebook. "But I've read stranger reports than yours." That was all he said about it. Nothing confirming, nothing denying. Just that quiet line and a look that told me he knew more than his orders allowed him to say. They kept us out there another day while they ran their searches. Found small pieces of Anchorage's hull drifting miles off. Found no bodies beyond what we pulled up. Found no sign of the creature. Not a single tentacle. Not a trace. When they released us, command filed the incident as structural failure, hull fatigue, unstable cargo. Something normal. Something simple. Something that fit on a line item. Briggs didn't argue. Neither did I. Neither did any man who saw what came out of that water. No one wanted to stand in a courtroom trying to explain a thing that wasn't supposed to exist. The USS Kaioa went back to regular runs after that. Quiet ones. Nothing like those 2 days in 47. Men transferred off. Some left the Navy. Some stayed but never talked about that patrol. I stayed a while longer before they shuffled me somewhere quiet. My name stayed smudged in the records after the convoy mess. The creature didn't change that. Nothing would. Years later, when I think back on it, the memories come sharper than they should. The calm water, the bent steel, the divers' muffled voices, the survivor whispering about the light. And sometimes, when I can't sleep, I swear I still hear those tones. Low, high, low, right in the back of my skull. Like something out there remembers us just as clearly. So that's the end of our video. If you made it this far, make sure to hit like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and it's free. And if you want more terrifying encounters like this one, check out the other videos on screen right now. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there. See you soon.